Hello, algebra students. This is Mr. Lawrence with your flipped lesson. I think we're on lesson number 4. Forgive me if the numbers are off a little bit, but I was making this ahead of time in the summer. Okay, enough of an editorial. First, we're going to learn how to multiply and divide fractions. That's our goal today. You will be able to multiply and divide fractions. Now, again, this is a skill you should have already mastered before coming to me, but I know a lot of you haven't because previous teachers may have allowed you too much use on a calculator. All right, so we're going to master it because if we don't, oh my goodness, the second semester of this class will be almost impossible if you don't understand this. But if you do understand this, the second semester will probably be easier than the first. That's what kids tell me. All right, before we multiply and divide fractions, I want to make sure you know how to simplify fractions. For example, I want to make sure you know that 10/12 is equal to another number. Smaller fraction, not actually a smaller fraction, but a simpler fraction. And the way I'm going to simplify it is I'm going to find the greatest common factor between 10 and 12. Well, in my mind, I can list, the factors of 10 are 1 and 10, and 2 and 5, and I think that's it. And the factors of 12 are 1 and 12, and 2 and 6, and 3 and 4, and yeah, that's all the factors. And I look for the one that is common to both, the greatest one that's common. Well, in this case, it's 2. 2 shows up in boldest lists. It's the largest, the greatest one. So I'm going to divide both the numerator and the denominator by that GCF. I'm going to divide by 2 there, divide by 2 here. Now, I don't always show this level of detail in my work. 10 divided by 2 is 5, but I'm doing it for your benefit. 12 divided by 2 is 6, so you can see the process about which I do it. All right, well, 10/12 is the same as 5/6. There is the simplest form. Let's try that again on number 2. If you want to try it on your own and pause and then see my solution, you can feel free to do that at any time. All right, I think the GCF of these is going to be 4. I know 2 is going to go in, but I don't want to use just any old factor because that leads to more steps. I want to use the greatest common factor. And I know the factors of 20 are 1, 20, 2 and 10, 4 and 5. And 4 is the only one of the large ones that goes into 48. So I am going to divide the numerator and the denominator by 4. So divide by 4 here, divide by 4 there, and I'm going to get the fraction of 5/12. And so that means 20/48 is the same as 5/12. 5/12 is just the simplest form. Now, we have to change direction here briefly for a minute. We have to talk about something called the commutative property of multiplication. This is something that back in my day, they used to teach this in like first and second grade. I don't think they do that anymore. In fact, I'm not sure you guys see the properties until you get up to at least the pre-algebra level. The commutative property of multiplication states that 3 times 4 is the same as 4 times 3. I think all of you would agree with that, okay? So what it means is you can change the order. 1 times 2 times 3 is the same as 3 times 1 times 2, which is the same as 3 times 2 times 1, which is the same as 1 times 3 times 2. I can change the order. That's all the commutative property of multiplication says. By the way, there is a commutative property for addition too. 1 plus 3 equals 3 plus 1. But why do we need to know that? Well, because when I have a fraction like this, 3 times, problem 3, 10/19 times 38/48. 38/40. A lot of you are going to go, well, I know 10/19 doesn't simplify, and I could simplify 38/40. But what you don't realize is you can also switch these and you actually have the same problem. 38/19 times 10/40 is the same problem. So I'm going to go ahead and say, well, divide both the numerator and the denominator by 10, and I'm going to get 1/4. And then over here, 19 goes into both. So I'm going to divide that by 19 to get 2, that by 19 to get 1. And so now I have the problem 2 firsts times 1/4. Now, I'm not done simplifying, believe it or not, but because it's the commutative property, and again, I'm showing you way more steps than you need to do. On the next one, I'm going to show you an easier way. But this is why it happens. I can use the commutative property again, switching my numerators, and rewrite it as 1/1 times 2/4. All I did was move the 2 and the 1, just like I moved the 10 and the 38. And now I can say, well, 2/4 is the same as 1/2. Now that everything's simplified as far as it can go, 1 times 1 is 1, 1 times 2 is 2. The problem is 1/2. See how simple that is? Okay, now, the way I like to do it, I don't like to do all the moving. I like to do the moving in my head. But I know that before I multiply, I want to simplify, try to simplify 4 times. I'm going to try vertically on the left fraction. I'm going to try vertically on the right fraction. And then, using the idea of the commutative property, I'm going to try diagonally down to the right and diagonally up to the right. Now, it doesn't matter which one I do first. In fact, on some problems, I'll do this one first. On other problems, I'll do that one first. Maybe I'll do this one first or this one. It depends on what I see first. And you know what's jumping out at me first on this one? That the 9 and the 12 have a common factor of 3. So I'm going to divide 9 by 3 and turn it into a 3, and then divide 12 by 3 and turn it into a 4. Now, my problem now is 8/4 times 3/10. Well, I can see, 3/30, excuse me. Silly, Mr. Lawrence. Good thing I caught that. All right, now it's easy to see that 8 and 4 can simplify into 2/1. 3/30 will simplify into 1/10. So right now, my problem is 2/1 times 1/10. Well, I can simplify this way, right? Do you notice the first thing I did was simplify that way up to the right, and then I simplified vertically on the left, and then vertically on the right, and now I'm checking down to the right, and sure enough, it's going to simplify, turning into 1/5. Now, you won't be able to simplify in all 4 directions on every single problem, but if you check all 4 directions and do it correctly, your problem becomes much, much easier. 1 times 1 is 1. 1 times 5 is 5. My answer is 1/5. 8/12 times 9/30 is 1/5. All right, scroll down here. 2 more problems, and actually we're going to do 4 more problems. Okay, and you're going to see me use a little bit of a shortcut. I'm going to use this idea during all the problems. So right off the bat, I'm going to reduce this 30/40 into 3/4. Divide both by 10. I saw that one first. Then I see the 4 and the 16 can simplify. So the 4 is going to turn into 1, the 16 into a 4. What did I do? I divided by 4 by 4 to get 1, 16 by 4 to get 4. All right, now I can look this way, and I can see that 3 and 27 will reduce. 3/27 is the same as 1/9. I'll check this way, the vertical on the right, but I'll see that 4/9 doesn't simplify. So now that I've simplified in all 4 directions that were possible, I can multiply 1 times 4 is 4, and 1 times 9 is 9. And there is my answer. Now, I don't know. Some of you wanted to multiply 30 times 16 and 40 times 27 and then try to simplify that fraction. Without a calculator, that is a pain in the pachachka. All right? It's so much simpler to do your simplifying first and multiply second. All right, watch me do it on problem number 6. Again, I'm going to check all 4 directions. Right off the bat, I see this one. That's the one that's obvious to me. I know that 18 times 2 is 36. So I'm going to divide by 18 and get 1. I'm going to divide by 18 and get 2. Okay, now I'm not sure about those, but I'm definitely sure about these. So I'm going to go ahead and do this one. And I'm going to divide by 2, and I'm going to divide by 2. So right now I have 1/48 times 32 over 1. Okay, so I'm going to stop and think here. What are the factors of 32? I'm always going to list the factors of the smaller number when I'm stuck. Okay, because there's less of them to do. Wow, I was expecting another pair in there. And I think that's it. Yeah, 3's not going to go in. 5's not. 6 isn't. 7 isn't. Yep, that's it. Okay, now I know 32 doesn't go into 48 evenly. 16. 16 times 2 is 32. Another 16. Oh, look at that. It's 48. So 16 goes into both 32 and 48. Divide 16 there, I'll get 2. Divide 16 in there, I'll get 3. I'm ready to multiply because simplifying the ones doesn't do any good, and simplifying 1/3 wouldn't change anything. So I check this way, I check that way. I've checked all 4 ways. 1 times 2 is 2. 3 times 1 is 3. Okay, so the answer is 2/3. Now, to do division, you do it the same exact way, except you have to remember to multiply by the reciprocal. Okay, on both of these problems, I'm going to take the original fraction and I'm going to multiply it by the reciprocal. And I'm going to talk about why that is in another video, in our next video. But for right now, I just want you to accept that I have to multiply by the reciprocal. All right. So I'll go ahead and do all 4 ways. I'll divide that by 4 and get 3 and get 4 there. I'll divide by 5 and get 2, 5 and get 3. Oh, look, the 3's can cancel. The 2 4's can become 1/2. And it looks like everything's simplified. 1 times 1 is 1. 1 times 2 is 2. My answer is 1/2. I'm making it look very easy. You know why? Because it is. All right, problem number 8, I'm going to divide by 5 there, and I'm going to get 4, and then I'm going to get 5. Here, I'm going to go, well, I know 2 goes into there 9 times, and look at that, 9 goes into 36, so I'll divide by 9 and get 4. Now, I cannot simplify these two because they're both in the denominator. Right? That's a multiplication problem. I don't know if I mentioned this, but you should know a division fraction bar means divide, and that's why I'm able to do all this. But this is multiplication because I'm not crossing a division fraction bar. So everything's been simplified. I'll do 1 times 5 is 5, and I'll do 2 times 4 and get 8. And there you go. 5/8 is the answer. All right, I think this video has gone long enough. There will be some extra practice videos. And again, I'll explain in the next video why we'll need to use the reciprocal when we do the division. And I'll explain that in the next video. All right, Mr. Lawrence signing off. Good night, everybody.